In the first Anuvaka of the Chamaka Prashna, Agna Vishnu Sajoshase, we started with the prayer for Agna, Agni and Vishnu. So the prayer to Agni and Vishnu will continue throughout this text. So in the first Anuvaka, we called it as the Sharira Anuvaka or Sharira Patava Anuvaka, that means give me a perfection of my physical body. So after that prayer, everything that you have prayed for is granted. That means you have got a very perfect body, there is no disease whatsoever, every single organ, gross, subtle, and Karana Sharira also, because you remember the last word referred to Karana Sharira. So all the Shariras have become perfect. So once all this is perfected, how did that perfection come to us? It is not just merely by the grace of God, because grace of God will not come to us unless there is noble intention. So what was the noble intention? We asked for Yajnena Kalpantam. Please give me such a efficient body so that I can worship you. Only when we ask whatever we need for the sake of worshipping, such prayers will be granted. So what is the metric? If we make a prayer and that prayer is not granted, then we have got to go back to the drawing board and ask ourselves, with how did we pray? It will be granted because we very fervently asked for Yajnena Kalpantam. What do we want to do with that? Once the efficient body is given to us, once the efficient mind is given to us, what will be the state of that body? The state of that body will be, he or she will always be yuva. That means a person will be youthful. You must note that youthfulness has nothing to do with the chronological age of the person. It is a quality of the person that he will be youthful. And that youthfulness, what is the quality of that youthfulness? It is sadhu yuva. It is piously youthful. Because youthfulness always comes with a little bit of aggression. Youthfulness always comes with a little bit of ego. Youthfulness comes with a don't care attitude. But here youthfulness is sadhu yuva. It is a pious youthfulness. And then this pious usefulness is coupled with the capacity to pray. That means a very eloquent prayer will happen. So because of you remember we have completed the entire Anganyasa, Karanyasa, Lagunyasa, Mahanyasa, and we have also completed the Namaka Prashna. So imagine what state the devotee is in when he comes to the Chamaka Prashna. That means he has already understood every single mantra and incorporated it in his sadhana. And therefore he becomes Adhyayakaha. That means he becomes very well versed in the Shastra. And because of his confidence in the Shastra, he is sadhu yuva. And he is a yuva, he becomes full of hope. Not a baseless hope, but a hope which is full of basis, and therefore he becomes ashishtaha. And he is also having a very strong body, dridishtaha. So you know where I am going. So this is actually a commentary on the Taittiriya Upanishad mantra, which means yuvasyat sadhu yuvadhyayakaha asishto dridishto balishtaha. So the entire first Anuvaka of the Chamaka Prashna is a commentary on the Taittiriya Upanishad mantra, yuvasyat sadhu yuvadhyayakaha asishto dridishto balishtaha. So now he knows how to pray. Why? Because he is Adhyapaka, he is the one who is learned. And why is he praying? Because he is Ashishtaha. He wants to get something. Therefore, he is asking for 38 things in the Anuvaka number 2. 38 prayers. Number 1, Jaishthyam me. Jaishtha comes from the root Jeshtha, comes from the word Jeshtha. That means give me eminence. Make me worthy of praise by my fellow beings. Now, interestingly, the fellow beings are not just people who are of the earth, because in all the realms, Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Suvaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam, all those beings who have got consciousness, Chaitanya Swarupa is there in all the 7 realms. All of them are our fellow beings only. Though their abilities, there is a gradation. And that's why they live in different places. Just as a person who is making minimum wage will have a particular kind of dwelling place, and a person who makes $1 million will have a different kind of dwelling place. But we are all fellow beings only. So similarly, he is asking for, let me be fit to be praised and honored. With what courage am I asking for that? It is because by virtue of my learning and by virtue of my good virtues, please give me the eminence that I am actually looking for. Jaishthyam me. So when that kind of eminence is achieved, when that kind of abilities is there, you cannot simply sit in a forest and then lock yourself down, isn't it? That has to be put to use, and that has to be used in the society. And if you have to be used in the society, you must have leadership qualities. And therefore, naturally, the next question asked is Adipatyam. That means you give me, put me into such place of leadership where I can exercise my abilities. Then suddenly the mantra take a twist. It says Manyushchame. Manyu means it is righteous anger. So for a person who has got Jaishtyam and who has got Adipatyam, unless he has got Dandaguna is absent, if there is no Dandaguna also, that means the courage, ability, willingness to protect Dharma, that he is ready to take disciplinary action against a person, I need Manyuhu also. Righteous anger at the right place to the right extent I should have, because if I don't have it, if a person has no anger whatsoever, even the proper anger, rightful anger, but be sure when we are practicing this that that anger is not wrongly placed or wrongly generated, and it is not done without a thorough contemplation. If Dandaguna is not used when necessary, the good and the noble people will be treated with contempt. Isn't it? And therefore it is also very essential for the good people to be very courageous and ready to strike against evil and against what is adharma. And then Bhamaha. You must read Manyushchame, Bhamaschame together. That means the anger, the Manyu generated should be reasonable. It should be, we should be able to express that anger externally through our body. Otherwise, if we are simmering with anger inside and then you don't do anything about it, that anger is going to burn us. It does nothing to neutralize adharma. So we must also be able to pick up the weapon and be ready to strike, which means a burning eyes, a raised hand with all the muscles showing, with a stance, virasana. Every one of them must be there. I must be able to bring it, to follow the Manya. A beautiful commentary on this is, you can go to Ramayana, in the Ramayana Yuddhakanda, in the very beginning of the Yuddhakanda. If you want to go back to Ramayana, it is in the 6th chapter. 6th chapter of Yuddhakanda. Rama comes to the seashore and now he has got to cross. and Samudra Raja is one of the Devatas. So he makes a very fervent prayer for Samudra Raja. So the way he does is he puts a darbhasana, takes a lot of darbhas, and on the darbhasana he prostrates before Samudra Raja. In fact, the Ramayana talks about how his outstretched arms were like a huge python that had stretched. So that is the metaphor that Valmiki gives. Like that he prostrates. However much he is praying, he prays and worships and meditates upon Samudra Raja for 3 days and 3 nights. In spite of that, Samudra Raja doesn't come out. Samudrasya tatah kruddho. Samudrasya tatah kruddho. So Rama becomes righteously angry against Samudra. So that means Manyushchame. So how does he show Bhamaschame? That means translate the anger into body language. Raktantalochanaha. Raktantalochana. That means his eyes are red, burning with anger. So this is how you should read the scripture. When you are reading particularly the epics, in contrast to the Veda mantra, you must be able to apply and harmonize both and say, is the act of Rama, is the act of Krishna, all of these things, because we are talking about the highest ideal. Is their behavior, conduct, body language in accordance with the Veda? Because Veda pramanam. So that test if you apply, Rama's getting angry and his eyes burning red is according to the Vedic word Bhamaschame. Manyuschame, Bhamaschame. Then Samipastham Uvachedam Lakshmanam Shubha Lakshanam. Only Valmiki can write like this. So he addresses Lakshmana, who is the very embodiment of auspiciousness. See this again, look at the juxtaposition. The juxtaposition is even the anger of Rama and his body language is Shubha Lakshana. So this Shubha Lakshanam can be applied either to Rama or to Lakshmana. That's the beauty of Sanskrit language. So what was the instigation? It was avalepam samudrasya. The word avalepa means arrogance. Avalepam samudrasya. And then look, Lakshmana, look at the arrogance of this samudra. Na darshayati yat swayam. In spite of my prayer, if he himself does not appear before me, he need not have appeared before him 3 days back. He could have just made room for Rama to cross the ocean. He need not even come in his presence. But because he has been made to wait for 3 days, the only way he can atone for what he has done is by physically coming in his presence. So this also gives us an insight into how to understand Manyu and Bhamaha when righteous anger is there. That's standard at which the person who has committed the wrong, that he has to display, has to change. The way in which he has got to come and apologize or atone has to change. You cannot simply send an email and say, I'm sorry. You have to come in person. And then, if he doesn't show, and if I don't do anything, there is a beautiful Subhashita in this part. Prashamaha, Kshama Arjavam Priyavadita Asamarthyam Phalantyete Nirguneshu Satam Gunaha. A great calm, which is the nature of a Satpurusha. Prashama means great calm. It's not ordinary calmness. It is a calmness coming out of Vidya. You remember in another occasion I was talking, it's not enough to be naturally good. You have to be deliberately good. And deliberate virtue and deliberate goodness comes only because of Shastra. Otherwise you are just, a cow is naturally good, but a cow can also be angered. But it can get angry at the wrong time too. So prashamaha, the great calm, kshama chaiva, forgiveness, arjavam, uprightness, priyavadita, being always sweet-tongued, will be known as when in the presence of people who have no guna, yete asamarthyam. This will be interpreted as you have no nerve. And then he goes on, kshamaya hi samayuktam. Me, who is completely a very embodiment of forgiveness, this fellow, Samudra Raja, asamartham vijanati. He thinks I cannot do anything because I am a huge body of water. What is this small 6 feet or 8 feet tall Rama? Asamartham vijanati. Dikka kshamam idrishe jane. Why upon such people to whom you show mercy? And especially important for a leader. And then you connect this to the question that Narada asked in the very beginning of Ramayana. Yasya bibhyati devascha jataroshasya samyuge. Yasya bibhyati devascha. Who is feared even by gods. Jataroshasya samyuge. Once in an encounter, he is angered. You can never appease him. So therefore, we need this kind of manyu and bhamaha. So don't think that a bhakta is always asking for, shanti, prashanti and all that, take me to moksha, give, and then let all the bad people be there. That is not the quality. You must be able to take. We have to note a very important point in this. The anger must be the very, very last resort. Number one. Number two, such anger must be coming out of viveka and vairagya. Number three, that anger should be only for loka kalyana and for no other reason. Number four, it should be only against the incorrigible and the insolent people. And number five, only after sama and dana has fallen, has failed. And then one should not say too much. Na ati prasangena. You don't give a lecture to that person. You just fire. That's it. When all the five has failed. And then the way it should be done is, again, Rama is characterized as samudra iva gambhiraha. It must be done with extraordinary grace. So anger in the mind translates into a body language of the anger, right? But the grace of the form is not disturbed. Look at the fine line one has to cross. The gracefulness of the person's body, there is no distortion whatsoever. So to that extent, I am asking Lord Shiva, Agna Vishnu, incidentally, for Manyushchame, Bhamaschame. And what should be my ability? It must be Amaschame. As you know, Ma means measure. Mana, all these are from measure. When you prefix it with Amaschame. Amaschame means immeasurable. It must be aparimitam. So in this context, Manyu and Bhama must be of such a quality that it must be immeasurable by your opponent. The pratibha must be immeasurable. The brilliance of the person must be immeasurable. We will continue in the next class.